Hello again, and here we are, A Perfectly Paranormal, episode 126. My name's Annaschmidt, and I'm here every week to share with you true paranormal encounters and information about devils, demons, and dark energy beings that no one else talks about. They truly don't. And today you're going to get an inside understanding of how detrimental vibrations of death and bloodshed in homes and other places can affect people, pets, buildings, and the land. And of course, attract the full force of dark and demonic entities drawn to those particular vibrations. Before we start, as always, there is a trigger warning that comes with this episode. Mentions of trauma associated with mass trauma, self-harming, suicide, bloodshed, and death. So if any of the information shared today triggers you in any way, please see your doctor or your mental health professional. Now, you hear me constantly talking about negative energy on the land and in homes. Now, this is what I find when I do property energy clearings, and I do these all over the world. You don't have to be in the location to do energetic work. The two vibrations that I'm talking about today really do pack an energetic punch in places. Not just homes, it can be anywhere. Because what we do, specifically our actions and what we experience through personal trauma, such as self-harming, suicide, or it can be the mass traumas experienced through wars or massacres or earthquakes or any other types of natural disasters. Any location where there has been blood spilt is going to carry that vibration, and the vibration attracts the energetic feeders, adding another level of unsettling energy in places that people may feel but just don't know what it is. And often they can feel unwell mentally and emotionally, and sometimes physically. Now, this isn't everybody. Quite often there are people who are energetically sensitive, like myself, and I can feel the vibration of death and bloodshed in places, and also attached to objects, which I may share later on. Now, I find too that sometimes spirits can carry the death vibration. Now, you would think, well, that's kind of obvious. But no, it isn't. I've observed some spirits who die suddenly through violent causes, and they need to release that death vibration and possibly the bloodshed vibration so that they can transition into the light. Those who are terminally ill, they have time to process what's coming. They have time to come to terms with their leaving of this lifetime. They talk about it with counsellors, they talk about it with their family, their friends. Everybody is ready for that possibility. And those people too that have very strong spiritual or religious beliefs about death and the afterlife, they don't hold the death vibration within themselves, not even at a soul level. Because they see life, like this lifetime that we have on earth, as only one level of existence. And these people transition peacefully into the afterlife, and they get ready for their next level of existence. Before 2010, this is really interesting, I assumed that the death vibration was automatically released for all soul energies. As they move into the higher realms, they go into the afterlife waiting room. But it's just not the case. And this is how I know why. I had a group of spirits following me everywhere. Now, they came through a property clearing, and this particular site, there had been a large massacre. And the spirits, some of them simply didn't know they were dead, and they were just following me around. They just find the vibration of energy workers, and sometimes they can cling to you because they're like, I don't know why my family can't see me. Why can't people see me? Am I dead? Am I alive? They just don't know. If people die suddenly, sometimes they just don't know. So I had a group of spirits following me, and I did my usual spirit transition process, working with Archangel Azrael releasing emotional energy that sometimes these spirits want to release. And for most of them, that's their anchor to the earth reality. It can be all sorts of emotions. But for some spirits, they need to release the death vibration and possibly the bloodshed vibration. Now, once that's released, away they went. And I'm like, this is something new. So when I work with clearing properties, the land, homes, I always ask now, is there a death vibration present on the land, possibly connected to spirits that are on that property, and also the bloodshed vibration? And you'd be surprised how this has really added another level of energetic clearing to our environment, because the earth is so grateful and the spirits are so grateful because the earth is relieved of the spirit energy that's present, and the spirits get to go and be with their past loved ones. So it's a win-win. Oh, it's actually a win-win in 3 ways. Also for the homes or other properties where I find those vibrations and where the spirits are present. It's actually a win 4 ways. I'm going to add number 4, because then the dark and the demonic entities that love the vibration of death and bloodshed, they're not present on the land either. They're not present in buildings. They're not present around people or pets. And the land goes, oh, what a relief. Now, I'm going to give you some examples, but there's no graphic detail. I just like to let you know how I find these vibrations in homes. And sometimes it helps people be aware when they move into a new home, why the bathroom feels weird, why the garage feels weird, and I just don't know why, but I feel really creeped out in there. Because the vibrations of death and bloodshed, they can be anywhere. They can be everywhere. We all can think of certain traumas that have happened where we live and also around the world. Those vibrations will still be in the locations until they're removed. And who knows what happens when they build new buildings back on those sites. People move in. It is just an ongoing cycle. So as I share these 2 experiences, you might be wondering, this is a good point to remember. Do I tell the clients the gruesome details? No, I don't. It is a big fat no on that one. I choose my words very carefully because you can imagine, I won't share what's coming, but you'll understand when I share our first experience. You can imagine people have to live in these homes. They have to live on the land. They have to work in certain places. They don't need the constant reminder of the gruesome details of what has happened in that site. So experience number 1. I had a client with a 9-year-old son who just couldn't sleep in his bedroom. I can't remember how long they'd been in the house. I think it was maybe 6 months. And no one was settled. Like this poor boy, he just couldn't sleep. He was wetting the bed, he was screaming during the night, and he was having constant night terrors. So he wasn't sleeping, and neither were the parents and any of the other siblings, which is the constant, ongoing nightly chaos and trauma that everyone expected every night. So, of course, they were waiting for it. So they had insomnia and they just couldn't sleep. And not getting sleep, as we know, is really bad for your mental, emotional, and physical health. So they contacted me. They found my website online, and during their energetic house clearing, this is what I uncovered. I found that there had been a suicide in the bathroom, in the bathtub. Now, guess where this bathtub was? Right on the other side of the wall next to the boy's bed. Now, the entities present in the bathtub, in the bathroom, they were affecting the boy's mind and body through the wall because these beings carry a big vibration. And it's not your random dark energies that flicker the lights and might, knock something off a shelf, or they might tug on your clothes. I mean, that's spirits sometimes, but sometimes it's dark entities as well who want to get you to create a particular vibration that they want to feed off. This was your heavy level demonic entities. They seem to be attracted to the vibrations of death and bloodshed, amongst other energetic vibrations. So once I found that out, and the vibrations of bloodshed, death, and there was a few other emotional imprints and trauma imprints attached to the bathtub, attached to the room, and sort of throughout the house. Once that was all cleared, the entities released their grip on the bathtub and the house, and they just went, oh, I'm just going to leave now and go elsewhere. And that's what they do. Once you take away their food source, there is no reason for them to stay in that location. Now, that boy's sleep returned to normal within the next 2 days. Of course, he was a little bit anxious going to bed, a little bit paranoid going to bed, but his family assured him that the house was energetically clean. I can't remember how they worded it because I don't know whether a 9-year-old would understand that. And he simply snuggled into bed and just went off to sleep. And the parents said to me, it's quite funny. Well, it's not funny. They were lying there awake, waiting for him to scream, waiting for him to cry out. Nothing. There was nothing. Even the pets were happy. His siblings were like, oh, thank goodness. And the whole house settled again and their lives got back to normal. So you can see there, the bath obviously, and the whole house and the bathroom would have been totally bleached and cleaned, but because that bath was left in the home, the vibrations were still attached to it. If the bath had been removed from the home and they installed a new bath, that bath would have been cleaner, but there still would have been bloodshed and death present in the bathroom. Because those vibrations, no matter how much you steam clean or paint or bleach the walls, doesn't seem to clean the space within rooms. Because trauma and emotional imprints can attach in, on, around and to surfaces, the structure of the building. It can soak into the walls, the floors, the ceiling, the fittings, the fixtures. So it's got to be energetically cleaned. It really, really does. Now, our second experience. Our second experience is another family moving into a home where a young girl had some mental health issues. Now, this young female had taken to drawing blood through cutting herself. Now, this was to cope with traumas that she was going through, whether it was peer pressure or she wasn't coping with school or, moving to a new home, leaving her friends behind. Now, that girl and her family ended up moving out of that home. And you can see where I'm going with this. So what had been left behind in the home? There had been bloodshed. Now, bloodshed doesn't always have to be self-harming or suicide or death or violent acts. I actually found, I'm going to get back to this story, but I actually found in a backyard someone who'd had an accident chopping wood. I mean, it happens. And I'd said to the people, look, down in the backyard, did you ever have a wood pile there? They're like, no, our house has got all electric heat pumps and stuff now. But there was a wood pile there when we moved in. So on that property, there'd been blood spilt through the man having an accident. But luckily it was down in the backyard. It was out of the house and the entities were only sort of in that area. So it doesn't have to be really violent traumas instigated against others or to yourself intentionally. It can also be unintentional things like cutting yourself when you're cooking, falling over, falling down the stairs. I actually had someone in a house one day that fell off their roof and I picked it up and I picked up the exact location of where the person had hit the ground. And they went, oh yeah, I had a concussion, split my head open, but I'm fine now. The vibration of bloodshed was still present outside the home. So let's get back to where we were. So years later, new occupants had moved into this home. As they do, homes quite often will change hands a lot, whether it's tenants or people buying the homes. No one wanted to occupy that particular bedroom. Even the dog wouldn't go in there. Now, this wasn't in the bathroom that was attached to that little bedroom. It was actually in the bedroom, in one particular corner. There was a lot of the vibrations of bloodshed. The family described it to me as the room felt dark. It felt dense, like there was this big, thick black fog in there. None of them could see this fog, but their bodies were pinging off, like their spidey senses were going, oh, no, don't go in there. So that's the kind of, they just shut the door. It was at the back of the house, they shut the door. And they really did miss having this other bedroom because a couple of their children didn't get on very well. So they were referred to me by another client. And one of the family members who was in that home, and you'll find this interesting, had started self-harming, which he'd never done before. So their vibration was in the house. I can't remember whether the person had actually enacted that action in maybe the bathroom that everyone shared, not just in the bedroom. It's quite a few years ago now that I did that house clearing. But sometimes people who move into new homes will act out some of the actions or the emotions of the people that lived there beforehand. Now, this isn't everybody. It is a classic sign of energy-sensitive people feeling the past traumas in homes and acting them out. And they just don't know why. But this family got onto it with their son straight away. Like they were like, right, that's not you. We don't know what's going on. Doctor, mental health professional. So I cleared the negative energy from that bedroom. And of course, the rest of the house, I'm very, very thorough when I clear homes. I look in every single room independently and clear all the emotional imprints, all the trauma imprints. You've heard me talk about it before. It is very, very detailed. You can't cut the corners. Someone just said to me, the devil is in the detail. One of my spiritual supporters, they find that quite, it's not funny, but they find it funny because the devil is in the details. Once that young man had seen the mental health professional, they went, look, there's nothing wrong with him. He seems okay. He ticks all the boxes for being normal. But once I cleared the home of all that negative energy, the family's activities and actions and everything returned to normal. They were like, wow. Now, the dad was a total skeptic. He was like, this is all BS and I don't believe in it. That's fine. I don't need people to tell me that they believe in what I do. If it helps the family, that is enough for me. And our last experience was with some rather interesting items. And this is going to show you how sensitive I am now to the death vibration. I just casually went to visit a mate one day. And as I walked into his hallway, we passed his lounge room. And I stopped and I looked at a pile of bagged items. Now, they were bagged very neatly. They were obviously going to be either donated or given to a friend. Now, there was a doona in a rather large plastic bag. You know the bags that come in when you buy them in the shops. And there was also some bed linen in a red grocery carry bag. Now, my friend looked at me and he said, yep, that stuff feels off, doesn't it? What do you feel? Now, he didn't tell me what he felt in these items, and I instantly said death. It just kind of rolled out of my mouth before I could monitor my response. And he wasn't surprised in the slightest, and he went on to say that the items had come from a home of a friend or a family member, I can't remember which, and this person had suddenly passed away. And these items, they looked very clean and they were very neatly folded. They were ready to be donated to another person. You know, they were just in good condition. So why waste them? Why throw them on the tip? Now, my friend and I looked at each other and I said, I can't let you donate those things before I've done an energetic clearing on them. And again, he wasn't surprised in the slightest. That's why he asked me to have a look at them. And it was funny because I wasn't meant to go to that house that day. And then it just kind of happened. So anyway, my friend sent me a photo of those items, and when I got home, I opened it. And as I studied the picture, indeed there was the vibration of death on those items. No bloodshed, but there were a couple of dark and demonic type level entities attached to the items, mainly in the red bag, but possibly on the doona, like they were trying to hide. They were trying to stay hidden, but it just didn't work. I could feel them, they could feel me, and I could feel that vibration of death. Now, I couldn't, in all my ethical and moral nature, see those items go to someone else's home, and the entities, and the death vibration that could possibly affect someone else's home, affect their sleep, affect their pets, and so on. So I energetically cleared the items, and I sent my friend what I found, and there you go. Those items went safely off to be used by someone else. So I hope you found that interesting today. I know this is a short episode, but I think you get the idea of how it all works. If you move into a new home, your behaviours change. Your siblings' behaviours change. Your parents' behaviours change. Be aware, observe, and if you need someone to do an energetic clearing, I'm always available, but there's also other people around who do similar work. So please get on top of it before it turns the family's life upside down. And I just wanted to add in, I thought it's important to know that if you are an energy worker and you do want to clear the vibration of death from the land, because there's a lot of places around the world where there would be mass pools of the death and the bloodshed vibrations, you need to ask permission of the land to do that energetic clearing. You can't assume with your ego that you have the right to do that. You need to ask the land for permission. Now, the land isn't going to pipe up with a great big fat yes or no. You're not going to hear it. Well, some people might. I don't hear it. I feel it. It either feels welcoming, and it's like, yep, we give you permission to do that, or it's like, nope, and you'll get an energetic slap in the face, or you'll feel this wave of energy that says, no, we're not ready right now. So I just thought I'd throw that in before we finish up today. Never assume you have the right to do energy work unless you ask permission first. So in episode 127, you're going to hear how divorce homes can affect new unsuspecting occupants and turn their lives upside down for no rational reason. It really is interesting how the energy of other people can affect people who move into new homes. And it doesn't have to be homes. It can be workplaces. It can be places where people gather for, conferences, or they're going to a concert. Now, I use homes as an example because that's where I work mostly. So stay tuned for next week's rather interesting episode, and I've got some really good examples to explain how divorce homes can affect people and their behaviours. So I look forward to spending some time with you then. Oh, and don't forget, if you like the content of this podcast and you don't want to miss any future episodes, please subscribe. And you can share with your friends so we can get the message out there. We can spread the message about these paranormal pranksters and what they get up to in our homes. I would really appreciate it. If you like the content of this episode today, please think about leaving me a rating and a review. What reviews do is they let other people know your thoughts about my supernatural subject matter. People love reading reviews, and we're spreading the word about the real paranormal world around us. I would really appreciate it. Now let's get back to the episode. So thank you for joining me today, and don't forget, if you want to share a paranormal experience just with myself, or you would like me to share one of your experiences through my podcast, you can do a voice recording, or you can write out your experience and I will read it exactly as you have written. You can email me at spiritualbeing44@gmail.com. And for information on paranormal house clearing, you can visit my website, Spiritual Being. You will find the address in the description box. And I look forward to sharing this spooky space again with you next week. And remember, life is perfectly paranormal.